Hi, everyone. I am here today to offer you some help with your research in your 501 class this semester. I'm going to run through some tips and a few searches. I encourage you to reach out to me if you have questions about what I'm covering or other things with your research. I'm here to help you individually as well, and I will show you later how to make an appointment with me for that. But I just wanted to offer some tips that I thought might help all of you as you're going along. So, I am going to talk about researching based on your research question. I know you're all working on questions at this point, and I know that some of you haven't completely nailed down exactly what you want to include in your research statement. But just want to talk a little bit as we get started about the importance of eventually having a strong research statement. You're searching and finding resources that are going to help you are very much driven by that statement in itself. As you're developing your statement, sometimes it's good to do some searches just to get some test ideas or to see some of the terminology that's used in the databases that might help you with that question. But definitely, once you have that research question, that's the piece that's going to help you develop your search strategies. So I'm going to use an example research statement that I developed today. And my statement is, in African American children, what is the effect of a school-based program targeting obesity on reducing the incidence of childhood obesity compared with no intervention within a 1-year period? So that's my statement. As I'm working with the databases, I am not going to type in that whole statement. So what you need to do once you have your question is really identify those key concepts out of your question that you're going to communicate to the databases. So those keywords that you're going to use in your search. What you're going to probably want to do is either online or on a piece of paper or whatever works best for you, start a list. Write out a column for each of your concepts. So for myself, I would have African American children, school programs, obesity, 1-year time period. Then what you're going to want to do is start thinking about other terms that might identify that concept, other things that people might call that concept, and start a list of those different terms for each, so that as you're doing your searching, sometimes it helps to change up your term a little bit and try it in your search with a little bit different combination of terms. So at this point, I am going to actually go into some searching and talk about how you might use our databases to help with your research. And I think remembering that choosing your database carefully can be important to make your search successful as well. Think about what databases are going to be useful for your topic. Using a library database can give you a much better focus on your topic than just using either a general database that covers a lot of different subject areas other than health sciences, or something like Google Scholar that, again, is very broad and covers a lot of resources in a lot of different disciplines. Getting into your disciplinary databases can really help you focus your research. So the two databases we're going to look at today are CINAHL and PubMed. Now, I've already gotten a brief searching in CINAHL tutorial available, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time in CINAHL today, but we'll take a quick look at a few things and then spend the rest of our time in PubMed. At this point, I am going to turn off my video here so that you can see the screen better, and we'll get started with some searching. So I'm here on the library's website, which is at library.noctrl.edu. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit to get to our research guides by subject. I'm going to select health sciences and then nursing. So this is where I'm going to access both CINAHL and PubMed. I am going to go into CINAHL first. Now, as you're getting ready to take those keyword lists that we talked about, I'm not sure why my picture came back on there, but let's get rid of that again. As we start thinking about putting our keywords in, there are a couple of things that I want you to consider. The first is age terminology. So I said I was looking at African American children. I'm not going to put that age terminology in my search itself. Both CINAHL and PubMed have opportunities for you to use limiters once you've done the search to limit to certain age categories, and that is much more effective than trying to put this in as a keyword term. So I'm going to leave those off. I'm also going to leave off that time frame period. I'm not going to put 1 year period or 1 year anything in my search. That just doesn't really work well in the search. And I found that depending on the abstracts, as you find articles and looking at their time frames within the abstracts is much more effective than trying to actually search for that piece of your question. And in fact, sometimes that can throw your searches off, can make your searches give you some strange results if you try to include that. So we're going to leave those pieces off. So I am going to search my three, I now am down to 3 terms I'm going to try and search. I'm going to use African American, I'm going to use school programs, and I'm going to use obesity. And you want to put each concept in this particular database in a different box. So I'm going to put in African American and school programs and obesity. Now, one of the things we will see on the next screen once I've completed my search, that there are some ways on the next screen that I can limit my results. But CINAHL is a little different from some of our databases in that you have a lot of options on this initial search page where you can limit some things or specify some things. For instance, if I want to make sure I'm using peer-reviewed sources, I can click that choice here. There are options for age groups on this page. We will see those again later, but I could go ahead and make my choice here and decide. I need to decide there are lots of different ones for children and youth that I can choose from. I could choose child 6 to 12 and adolescent 13 to 18. All child, all adult. There are lots of different choices you can make, and you can pick multiples. So I think for my search today, I'm going to use child 6 to 12 years and adolescent 13 to 18 years and have those 2 options chosen. There are also some publication types that might be of interest to you, and I don't know so much at this level of your searching, but at some point when you're into looking more for specific types of trials, that sort of thing, you can look through the publication types and find those. If you want to make sure you only have English resources, you can make that selection. So there's lots of things here that you could explore and learn how to focus in your research before you actually click on search. So now I've got those marked. I'm going to go ahead and search. And I've got that pretty focused at this point. I have this down to 44 articles. I know that they're peer-reviewed. I know they're all in English, and I know that they are dealing with those 2 age group categories that I'm looking for. One of the other limiters that if you're not used to using that you're probably going to want to think about is the publication date. I can see that my oldest article here is 2005, and I really want something a little more current than that at this point, so I'm going to change that up to 2013, so I just have 10 years worth. And then I've narrowed my results down even further to just 24. So those are some ways that you can focus in your search within CINAHL. Then, of course, you're at the point where you're going to actually start looking at the articles, reading a little bit more about them. I'm going to take a look at this first one. And I can see that, well, this one is a little unusual. This one does not have an abstract on it. Most of the sources you will find do give you abstracts that will help you with that. So let's see if we can try another one here and see if we can get to an abstract. Here we go. So this one does give us an abstract, and you can read a little bit more about it. Please keep in mind that not all of the articles that you find in the databases are going to be reporting on primary research. Some of them may be more review kinds of articles or theoretical kinds of articles. You probably are wanting to focus primarily at this point on research articles, but using this abstract should help you see what research methods they used and know when you are looking at that primary research type article. That is what I would like to cover with CINAHL today. I'm going to switch over now to PubMed, and just another general comment to keep in mind is that the purpose of why you're searching, why you're looking for articles, is somewhat going to determine how thorough your search needs to be. So you may be doing a project where you just need a couple of really strong articles on a topic, and coming in and using CINAHL and or PubMed may very quickly find that. Or you may be doing a more comprehensive project, such as a literature review, where you're going to want to make sure that you're more comprehensive in finding all the resources available. And just keep in mind that that takes time. Any of us, even those of us that have been doing research for years, it's not a quick process. We've got to take the time to go through the various steps, try different places, search in different databases, try different types of searches within each database. Once you have that list of keywords and in similar terms, try different combinations of terms, just allowing yourself the time to really get thorough with your searches and creative and trying different types of searches. So I'm going to go ahead and close down CINAHL and go back to our research guide and go into PubMed. Now, PubMed has two different ways that we can search. I call this opening screen that we come to with this search box a kind of a quick search method. This is one of the searches. The other one we're going to talk about is a mesh database search, and I'll show you that in a few moments. But just kind of the difference between these two searches. This quick search is an easy way to get in and do just like what I call it sounds, a quick way to get in and see what's available in the database. This search searches everything available within PubMed. So it's the broadest search you can do within PubMed. It finds all kinds of resources from all the various places that feed information into PubMed. It also catches everything that's a very new publication. As we'll talk in a moment about the mesh database, some databases have to do indexing on the records before the records appear in the database. That does not have to happen in PubMed, so even the most current resources from the last few weeks will appear most quickly in this quick search. So that's one of the advantages of a quick search. The mesh database search, on the other hand, only searches Medline records, so it does not pull in everything that is available in PubMed, just the Medline records. Now that's a huge database, so you're pulling in very many resources from that, but you need to be aware that you're not pulling everything that's available in PubMed. Also, those Medline records do have to be indexed, so you may not catch those articles that were just released in the last few weeks. And then finally, just keep in mind that mesh database and kind of the advantage to some of these limitations is that it is a much more focused search. So you're easier to more narrowly get focus to your topic when you use that database. So really, to do a comprehensive search, you should be using both of these search methods. Come in, do some quick searches, find some resources, and then also go into the mesh database and do some searches so that you can make sure that you found all of those relevant resources. Let's start with a quick search. Again, I'm going to, in this particular database, before we used a format where we had the word and in between our different concepts. PubMed recommends that for this quick search, you do not use any combining words. So you just want to string together your keywords into a search here. And so I am going to do that, and I am going to again use my terms African American, school programs, and obesity. Now I said the word and, but I'm not putting that word there. So African American, school programs, obesity. Do my search. And I can see that I have over 1,000 results. This is a very large database, so you can, depending on how many terms and how specific you get, you can get some pretty large results here. But again, I can do some things. I can either use the slide bar here to adjust my dates that I want to have appear, or I can come down, and if I know I want 10 years, I can come down and limit to 10 years. So there I've eliminated quite a few of my results just by getting to the most recent things. There are also some limiters here that you can look at, like if you're looking specifically for clinical trials or you need a systematic review, you can limit to those. Probably as you're beginning this broader search, you may not want to limit down to those immediately. Catch myself back up in my notes here. So I've limited to 10 years. There are also additional filters available here, and these are the filters in PubMed where you can get to those age categories. There's lots of different kinds of filters you can add. Here's those article types like we looked at in CINAHL. You can add those. We have species, human or other animals, language, male, female, and here's the age categories. So perhaps I would want to use, again, that child 6 to 12 years or the adolescent 13, or in this one, if I want that full age range, the fuller age range, I can use childbirth to 18 years. I'm going to choose that one. I can choose multiples. You can add as many of these as you want. Just click on them and then click show. Now that hasn't actually affected my search results yet. What it does is add these limiters to your list on the left-hand column. So now I need to choose which limiters I'm going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and just use the single. Oh, nope, I clicked on adolescent. Since I did that, I'm going to go ahead and add the child also. So now I have results that I know are 10 years, within the last 10 years, and that they are categorized in that child. Oh, now I've got strange ones on there. Well, I've got everything. I've got child birth to 18 years. So you can choose the specific categories or multiple categories if you choose. So then again, you're going to want to start looking at what are my results, looking at individual titles. Let's go ahead and take look at this first one and see the kind of information that we can see available here. Again, it should give you that abstract. This one, it's very clear to me. It spells out the methods and the results, that this is a primary research article. Again, you are going to find other kinds of articles in PubMed as well, so you'll want to make sure you're looking for that aspect. If you've used this article and you find that it's really helpful, it's really on target for you, there are a couple of other things here that can be helpful to you. There are some similar articles that you might want to explore and consider. There are also cited by articles. So this article was published, let me go back up here to the top. This article was published in October of 2018. So if I come back down to these cited articles, these are articles that have been published since 2018 that cited this particular research. So again, given that they've cited a research article that's very helpful to me, it's likely that some of these more recent research methods or sources are similar to in topic and things that I might want to look at as well. So those are there. References that this article cited are there for you to consider. And then finally we have mesh terms. And we're going to look at the mesh database shortly. These mesh terms can be very, very helpful as you try to consider what terminology you should be using in your searches or want to use in your searches. It will help you build those lists of optional terms to use. So for my particular search, I can see that Black or African American is probably a good search term for me. Health education might be a better option or another option for me rather than school programs. And I actually can see that there is a heading for pediatric obesity. So I might want to consider that instead of simply the term obesity. So these MESH terms, which stands for medical subject heading terms, can really, really be helpful in building your search terminology list. And we'll use those again briefly in a moment as we get into MESH. The final thing I want to show you on this record is access. How do you get a hold of these articles once you've identified them? Up here in the right-hand corner, we have some full text links. What you're going to want to look for here is if there are any links that say free or open access. I would encourage you to use those. Those should take you directly to the article without any charges. If the links do not say free or open access, then I encourage you to use the North Central College link now available there, and that will pop you into our Cardinal Search database that will help you see whether we have access, which you can see here on this record that we do have some access, or it will lead you to the interlibrary loan form if we do not have access available. So that is the spot that you're going to look for in PubMed to actually access the articles. All right, I'm going to go back to that beginning screen, and rather than use the quick search box, I'm going to scroll down here, and I can see under Explore, we can explore the MESH database. So this is going to take us into the database that houses all of those subject terms, those medical subject headings that we've been looking at briefly. And because of some things that I found in my last search, I'm going to now look for each of those terms, and within this database, I can build a search based on these terms. So I'm going to start with African American. And here I can see my heading Black or African American that they are suggesting we use for this particular terminology. Only one subject heading was suggested for this, so it opened directly to that subject heading. And I can see here some information. This one's actually pretty lengthy, but usually they have just a few lines of description of how they're using the term so that you can make sure it matches how you would typically use the term. There are subheadings that you can narrow down your search using some of the subheadings, and then if you scroll down, there are also some hierarchies here. So maybe I've decided Black or African American is a little bit too focused, and I might want to move up a level and do just use the term Black people. Okay, so there are lots of different things on this page that can help you explore your terms as well. I want to use Black or African American in my search, so I'm going to come over here to this right-hand side, and I'm going to click on Add to Search Builder, and you can now see that I have that term in my search. I'm going to go on to my next term. This part will stay here on the right-hand side, but I'm going to go on to my next term and get that added into my search. So I decided I was going to use health education instead of school programs. Whoops, I spelled it wrong. Let's try that again. Health education. And now I can see a variety of options I might want to consider for health education. I still want this initial one that is simply health education. Again, there are some ways I can narrow that down, some other things I can look at. But I'm going to go ahead and add health education to my search. And now I can see I have both terms there. And now I just need my third piece, which is pediatric obesity. And again, that takes me directly to that, since that is the only thing that they are suggesting for that particular term. There are lots of different things here that I could narrow down. Perhaps I would consider, if I'm getting a lot of results, I probably would come back and add a subheading, maybe prevention and control. But I don't want to get too narrow too early. So I'm going to stick with pediatric obesity and add that to my search. And now I have all three of my terms here. I have Black or African American, health education, and pediatric obesity. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Search PubMed. So I've done a pretty focused search here by using those subject headings. Using subject headings is one of the most effective ways of focusing in your search and narrowing down your result to things that are still really on topic for what you're looking for. It's held my 2013 selection there. And I could, again, use age limiters, but because I used that pediatric obesity, that should have already put the age categories in there for me. So I'm not going to limit those any further this time. And now again, you are at the point of where you're looking to see what articles meet your needs, using the tips and things that you find on those articles to explore out and find other articles. Don't forget to try your searches with different terminology, different combinations of terms, different databases, different search types within those databases to really broaden out and do a comprehensive search. I'm going to stop with that for now. I just want to remind you that I am available to you to meet individually anytime you need some assistance. From the research guide, you can schedule an appointment with me. Please be aware that my appointment scheduler offers only daytime hours. If you really need some assistance and you do not have daytime hours available, please use the button above to email me. There might be some things I can help you with via email, or I can schedule another time, either with myself or with one of our evening librarians to work with you and get you some assistance. So please don't hesitate to reach out anytime. Thank you.